And it goes a little something like.
Hi everyone, good day. My name is Jaya and I am from Group 2. So today we will talk about an interesting topic which has something to do with faith and reason, the Chinese philosophy and religion. But first and foremost, do you know the main differences between religion and philosophy? Well, it's always a difficult question to ask because, of course, there's so much overlap between the two, and many philosophies have religious aspects, just as many religions as well are felt as a philosophy. Philosophy comes from Greek and it really has nothing to do with God, gods, or mysticism, or simply it deals with things on earth and it usually answers questions like why we think, the way we think, and what is good versus bad. Religion, on the one hand, refers to the state of life bound to monastic rules or conducting indicating a belief in a divine power. In other words, religion is something that we people believe in and follow just like a philosophy. But it isn't down to earth, it is above us. Something that is not visible but powered by a belief. It is a belief in some kind of deity way that wants us to behave, act, and live in a certain way. Philosophy, on the other hand, is powered by logical curiosity, knowledge, and our understanding on earth, and eventually we use that knowledge to determine the best ways to behave, act, and live. So, were you able to figure out the main differences between religion and philosophy? Well, glad to hear that. Now, moving forward to our main discussion, Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism were the three main philosophies and religions of ancient China, which have individually and collectively influenced the ancient and modern Chinese society. However, people in China before worshipped personifications of nature and concepts like wealth and fortune, which eventually developed into a religion. Kongzhu or Confuci, popularly known as Confucius, was the founder of Confucianism. He was Chinese most famous teacher, philosopher, and political theorist whose ideas have profoundly influenced the civilizations of China and other East Asian countries. But the question is, can we consider Confucianism a philosophy or religion? What do you think? Well, it actually became the official ideology of the Chinese state, but it was never considered as an established religion with a church or priesthood. They honored Confucius as a great teacher or sage, but did not worship him as their personal god, and even Confucius himself did not claim divinity. Confucius believes that what we should do in life is to strive to become a chunsu. Now, what does that mean? He simply wants us to be an ideal person. And a key characteristic of what it means to be a chunsu is this first trait, benevolence, or known as Zhen or Ren. This basically refers to compassion or love for other people. Confucius believes that an ultimate person is someone who is filled with an ultimate virtue, which is the love for others. I know most of us here are familiar with golden rules, and here are two examples of golden rules that Confucius asserted. First, if a man sets his heart on benevolence, then he will be free from evil. The second one is the most common to us, the cliche one, which states that do not do unto others what you would not want others to do unto you. More so, we can be chunsu through a lie. It pertains to a proper conduct and cultural practices. Confucius primarily established 5 constant relationships. According to him, there is a relationship between the ruler and the subject, the parent and the child, the husband and the wife, the older sibling and the younger sibling, and the older friend and the younger friend. Now, within each of these relationships, each member of the relationship has certain responsibilities. And even though there's an inherent hierarchy between the two parties in each of these relationships, it's not a relationship where authority and power were automatically given. It's a relationship where power and authority and responsibility must be earned. For example, a husband should earn that responsibility and power to protect his wife. Another aspect of having a proper conduct is shao, and this refers to having a reference or reverence to your family. The idea of filial piety or devotion to family is the key to Confucius' thought, meaning family is a priority. It is something that we should honor. It is something that we must treat with reverence. This means having a profound respect for one's parents, elders, and ancestors. Now moving forward, let's talk about Taoism or Daoism. But first of all, is it pronounced as Taoism or Daoism? What do you think? I know some of you here are confused whether these two terms refer to the exact same thing. Well, the reason behind this was because of the two different language systems that emerged in China before. The first one was the Wei-Gal system, which spells Dao with letter D. And the other one was Hanyu Pinyin, which spells Dao with D. However, according to some articles that I've read as well as some videos that I've watched, it should be pronounced as Dao. So it should be Daoism. But it's up to you. Daoism was founded by Lao Tzu. As the story goes, Lao Tzu used to work in a government as a record keeper, but after seeing so much corruption, he fled. Eventually, he wrote his teachings known as Tao Te Ching or Tao Te Ching. Now, what is the main idea of Daoism? Well, Taoists believed that there's a force that runs all throughout the natural world. This is known as the Tao, which means the way. Daoism further believes that there are two forces which are represented in the yin and the yang. Two opposite but complementary principles, just like the dark and the light, the hot and cold, and etc. It shows that everything in the universe is connected and nothing makes sense by itself. Now, what's the main difference between Confucianism and Daoism? Simple. Confucianism seeks to end the fighting and disorder of the society, while Daoism itself is mainly concerned with the spiritual elements of life, including the nature of the universe. Now let's talk about Buddhism. Buddhism is one of the largest religions in China, and it was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, known as Buddhism is a philosophy that focuses on personal development and attainment of deep knowledge. But what do Buddhists actually believe? Basically, they believe in reincarnation or cycle of life. Buddhists believed that life is full of suffering and uncertainty. But with the right action and with the right mindset, we can end our suffering. Through meditation, spiritual practices, and learning, we can achieve enlightenment or nirvana. When we say nirvana, it is a joyful state beyond human suffering, or what we call heaven. Here are the basic teachings of a Buddha that one must follow to attain nirvana. First is the three universal truths. Second is the Four Noble Truths. And the third one is the Eightfold Path. The three universal truths are: first, everything is impermanent and changing. Second is impermanence leads to suffering, making our life imperfect. The third one is that the self is not personal and unchanging. Here are the four noble truths that we need to understand. First, we have dukkha. It means that life often involves suffering. That means each one of us here are bound to suffer. The second one is samudaya. It states that there will always be a reason or a cause on our sufferings. And for instance, we suffer because of our personal desires. The desire for pleasure, fame, anger, jealousy, and many more. And the third one is nirodha. When we say nirodha, it states that there is an end to our suffering. And the cure to end our suffering is to rise above our desires. Now, how can we rise above our desires? The fourth one is magga. We can rise above our desires through following the eightfold path. Here are the eightfold path that we need to follow in order for us to rise above our own desires. The first one is right view. That means we need to fully understand the four noble truths. Second is right resolve. We need to free ourselves from attachment, hate, and ignorance. Third is right speech. We need to abstain from lying, from gossips, or from hurtful talks. Fourth is right action. We need to abstain from hurtful behaviors such as killing, stealing, and careless sex. Fifth one is right livelihood. That means we need to live our life without hurting others. And we don't need to lie. We need to abstain from lying. The sixth one is right effort. That means we need to promote good thoughts in order for us to conquer negativity. Seventh one is right mindfulness. That means we need to overcome cravings, ignorance, and hatred. And the last one is right concentration. That means we need to focus on meditation in order for us to understand imperfection, impermanence, and non-separateness. The bottom line here is that if we were able to follow all of these principles, then we can begin to fully understand the four noble truths. And eventually, we can fully understand on the reasons on why we need to suffer. And we can now reach nirvana, or the complete letting go of our desires and suffering. To sum up our discussion today, there were three major philosophies and religions in China. We have Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. That would be all for today. Once again, my name is Jaya from Group 2, and I just hope that you gained something from this presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now. Annyeong!